I'm making sure that this girl eats at every restaurant in Disney World if it's the last thing I do.
Narcoossee's at Disney's Grand Floridian Resort has been called fantastic, second to none, and easily top 3 of Disney World restaurants. Let's see if that's true. Oh, she's running.
Narcoossee's is a restaurant you are going to find here at Disney Grand Floridian Resort. It is $3 on the Disney World website, so a little bit pricier. It offers coastal cuisine and panoramic views, and it is absolutely gorgeous. There is a dress code for this one, and if you're using the Disney dining plan, it's going to cost you 2 dining credits.
All right, appetizers and drinks are here. Drinks almost gone, Emma. What's going on up there?
I'm doing my best to nurse it, but unsuccessfully.
She's covering it. It's coverage.
This is for our job.
She's reporting on the espresso martini.
I have to do this.
So for our appetizers, we did grab the brisket and ricotta tortelloni. This is served with parsnip, brown butter, and sultana raisins. Behind that, we have the lobster bisque. This is poured at the table, and it has butter poached lobster, vanilla, and coral in it. And Emma's looking at it lovingly.
When she poured it in front of Quincy, I was like taking a video, and real life, this is what I looked like. Like it was the Pledge of Allegiance. I had my hand over my heart. I'm not, like, she can attest that is honest to goodness what I was doing with my body.
Drinks, Emma went with the salted mascarpone espresso martini, Grey Goose vodka, Kahlua liqueur, Joffrey's coffee Italian espresso, and cane sugar with mascarpone di Serono original liqueur foam. And then I got over here the yuzu black peppercorn gin and tonic with Monkey 47 gin, Aperol liqueur, house-made yuzu black peppercorn syrup, lemongrass, beetroot, and soda water. And when we ordered these, our server said those are the 2 best.
And she was correct.
Let's talk apps. Well, we gotta talk something pre-apps.
Craps?
Bread service.
Oh, I was including that in apps. In my brain.
Interesting.
Let's talk bread.
We'll talk bread. So I loved this bread.
It was incredible.
Thought it was amazing. One of the best breads that I've had in Disney World, like free included with your meal breads. Super crusty on the outside, super airy and light on the inside while still being like a nice level of moisture. And then it came with a nice sea salt butter that, though not very spreadable, still was delicious.
Yeah, it was incredible. I typically don't eat that much bread before Disney meals, and I ate an entire, we had half of it.
I ate a whole corner.
Yeah.
We did eat half the bread.
We ate half the bread, yeah. And it was fantastic.
Yep. It was, I think that there was like a nice tang to it. I think the bread was a sourdough. It had sourdough vibes. Drinks wise, yes.
I think I found my new favorite espresso martini in all of Disney World.
Which is saying something because she's had many of them.
I love an espresso martini. It is more of a dessert drink, but hey, don't let people judge you. You're in Disney World. If you want the dessert drink at 10 a.m., get the dessert drink. It was so wonderful. The mascarpone topping was really what sets this apart from any other espresso martini. It was so light and fluffy, and it just melted with the drink, which honestly you had to be intentional to make sure you got any of the actual espresso martini out from underneath it. But once you kind of got into the groove of it, it was salty, but it was sweet, and there was a little bit of a nuttiness, almost kind of almond flavor in it. I absolutely loved it, and I just think it was interesting.
The yuzu and peppercorn gin and tonic was a delightful cocktail. It was like a perfect light gin cocktail, summery flavors. I also think that all of the flavors, the yuzu, the peppercorn, the beets, the gin, all of the flavors were pronounced. None of them overpowered each other. It was a very balanced drink. Had a nice tartness to it, but it wasn't overly acidic, where like a lot of really acidic cocktails give me acid reflux like mid-meal. This didn't do that, and I was able to drink the whole thing. And it was just a super summery, bright, light cocktail. For my appetizer, I went with the lobster bisque. Now this was poured tableside, and it had some like accompaniments built into the bowl. There was like this creamy sort of like vanilla-y butter situation, poached lobster, and then a little bit of like a cornbread base, she said. This was such an amazing lobster bisque.
This was incredible.
It was creamy. It was delicious. It was just full of that savory, like meaty, classic buttery lobster flavor without the bisque itself was perfectly smooth. But then the accompaniments that were in the bowl meant that you could have like chunky bites of lobster. And my favorite bite I had was the first time I tried that white butter on top mixed in with the bisque. It was everything you want out of that most beautiful, perfectly cooked bite of lobster soaked in a butter sauce. It was like that reconstructed to be a creamy soup experience. How was your tortelloni?
I was gonna say I got the tortelloni. I actually really enjoyed this, and I did not. I've been to Narcoossee's twice before, and I've been lucky enough to come for work while we were reporting. So I've eaten a lot of the items, and this is one of the things that I had not previously had. So I wasn't as excited about it, but it seemed interesting. I really enjoyed it. I was really impressed with how smooth the ricotta base was. It was so light and texturally really interesting. It was just so creamy, melt in your mouth. And then the actual pasta itself, I am really weird about tortelloni filling. If it's too much, it's overwhelming. If there's not enough, I don't like it. And I thought it was the perfect amount of brisket filling. The brisket itself was really savory, really juicy. It was not dry at all, which I was concerned about. And I just think prepared overall really well and had a really interesting combination of flavors. And then there were just a few white raisins in it to add a little tiny bit of sweetness. I really loved the combos.
Yeah. Let's talk atmosphere. Now, Narcoossee's is a beautiful, simple restaurant with a nice coastal vibe. It's got those panoramic views looking out over Seven Seas Lagoon, Magic Kingdom, the Contemporary. You can see it all from in there. Pretty much every table has a great view, but the best are going to be near the windows. And if you do time it right, you can see sunset. Or, if you go even later, the electrical water pageant and even Magic Kingdom fireworks. And they do play the music in the restaurant. Also, if you've been to Narcoossee's in the past, you might notice it looks a little bit different because it did recently undergo a refurbishment. All right, the entrees have arrived. So I went with the red wine glazed salmon. It is served with confit tomatoes and potatoes, lacinato kale, pickled mustard seed, harissa romesco, and vidalia subice. I literally saw this on the menu and I knew this is what I was getting like yesterday when I was looking at the menu, so I'm pretty excited. Emma went with the Gulf Shrimp bucatini, which is house-made bucatini pasta, roasted tomatoes, Savoy spinach, parsley, and basil pesto.
I'm so excited. This is probably my favorite restaurant in Disney that I have gotten to experience.
I'm so excited that I'm getting to experience it with you.
I'm glad we're experiencing it together. This is my third time, so as they say,
third time's the charm. Entrees. The salmon.
oh my gosh.
This was the most, I call a lot of salmon perfectly cooked because salmon can be perfectly cooked relatively easily. This was the most all salmon will now be compared to this salmon in my eyes from a cooked perspective.
At Disney World.
Yes, and it was so flaky and falling apart positive that when I was trying to hold a bite on my fork, it would flake apart. It was perfectly cooked. The filet was gorgeous. It also had that beautiful red wine glaze on top, which Emma actually asked if it was barbecue when she didn't know what it was. And that's because it had a similar savory fruitiness to a lot of smoky barbecue sauces.
Smoky, I think is the perfect word.
The wine reduced really beautifully, and it was the perfect amount of glaze where it did not overpower this perfect fish. The standout actually for me on this plate was the side potatoes and all of the different things that came along with it. There were greens and sun-dried tomatoes, and my favorite thing on this plate was actually the pickled mustard seed.
It was really wonderful,
I
thought I would hate it.
It was it added this zing and tang of a vinegary acidity. I was full and we took a break and then I finished it. It was so delicious. Just a really standout piece of salmon. And then your bucatini.
The bucatini was crazy.
It was so amazing.
When they sat it down on the table, you could immediately smell it, and it was so aromatic. You already knew it was going to be good before you ever put it in your mouth.
Yep.
We both agree it's probably the best tomato-based sauce we've ever had.
Yeah, and that's not just in
Honestly.
Disney.
No, I mean that across the board.
And I'm a big fan of like Paniella vodka, which is the tomato-based cream sauce, like vodka sauce. This was, it was just like a whole different ball game.
The shrimp were kind of like, we both agreed shrimp was not what we thought the protein should be for this meal initially, and then once we started eating it, I thought it was the perfect
They
texture
melted
and
in. Like, I wouldn't say the shrimp
carried
stood
the
out at
sauce.
all. It just carried the sauce. It was a part of the whole.
Yeah.
Where shrimp typically stands out. Like, if you get shrimp tossed in a pasta, you're usually eating like shrimp on top of your pasta. This was like, it
was a
really
vessel.
felt like it was like a vessel. Something that really stood out for me about this dish was the noodle shape itself.
Absolutely.
The bucatini is house made at Narcoossee.
And you can tell.
It was impeccably made.
Perfectly al dente as
So
well.
delicious. And the way that it carried the sauce,
It was perfect.
the only thing was it was a little difficult to twirl on your fork.
It was a little difficult to twirl on the fork, but
There's
it was worth the
There's a
effort.
couple of like things that were not on camera and moments that are on camera of us struggling to twirl the bucatini on our forks.
And you know what? It was worth it. Let's break it down. Is this going to be magic or tragic for you? Magic being great, tragic being maybe let's try something else. It's going to be a magic if you're looking for something high-end and a little bit nicer. It's going to be magic if you are here for a special occasion or if you love seafood. Now, unfortunately, this is going to be tragic for a few people. If you are looking for something affordable and quick, this is probably not the spot for you. If you need something that's super kid-friendly, again, maybe check out something else. And if you're a picky eater, you might not be able to find something on this menu for you. And now it's time for Quincy's first bite. Off she goes. Well, now I gotta try a bite. Now this is one of the only things they brought back from their original menu, and I totally get why.
This is the first time I've ever eaten a dessert at a table service restaurant in Disney that I have felt like I would come back just for the dessert.
Yeah, this is crazy.
This is easily one of the best sweets I have ever put in my mouth in Disney World.
I cannot wait to talk more about this.
I know, I can't wait to talk more about it.
Dessert.
Oh
my gosh.
I'm not kidding. Easily one of the most jaw-dropping things I have ever eaten in my course of eating through Disney restaurants. As you might know, Emma's trying to finish out my list, but I have eaten at almost every single Disney World restaurant except for about 30 at this point. I think it's 32 after today. So we're getting really close to me having eaten at all of them. I have eaten at Disneyland restaurants. I've eaten at Disney restaurants around the world. I have almost never had a dessert that I have said, like, this is the star of the meal. This is the almond cheesecake. It is their signature dessert.
This is one of the few items they brought back after they had kind of closed and reopened and kind of reinvented the menu. It's not exactly the same. It's just a reimagined version, and I am so glad they kept this.
I am not exaggerating when I say Emma and I have planned a return trip to Narcoossee's to get an appetizer, just a couple of drinks, and that dessert. It is something that I would go out of my way to come here for. Just that dessert. I would sit at the bar to eat that cake. It was
wonderful.
I like can't speak highly enough of it. If you like the things that are included in that dessert, you have to try it. Like it was like a holy grail Disney food item for me. In many ways, the work of a critic is easy, but not when it comes to judging a favorite for many. Narcoossee's is a beautiful restaurant on the water at Grand Floridian, and it's true. Oh my gosh, hi, thank you.
I'm watching videos.
Oh, thank you. But when it comes to judging something that is a favorite for many, like Narcoossee's on the water at Disney's Grand Floridian Resort, things get a little bit tricky. With a delightful surf and turf forward menu, with a delightful atmosphere, you might find that it is a better fancy restaurant to take your kids to than many other options in Disney World, though still does sit on the pricier side with a bit of a more romantic vibe. Overall, with 3 incredible courses paired with 2 incredible cocktails, I have to say that Narcoossee's is without a doubt one of the best dining experiences I have had in Disney World, and give it 5 out of 5 stars.
She's got a lot more eating to do if we are going to eat everything in Disney World.
Well, where are we off to next?
Le Cellier, baby!